Hi, this is Laura McHarrie at the Hidden Edge
and Nigel Davey from SME Needs. And this is the latest of our 10-Minute Business podcasts. And today we're talking to Jon Jenkins from Just Add Tech about whether technology does actually boost productivity.
Jon, hi, it's good to have you join us this morning. It seems like technology ought to be making work a lot simpler and a lot quicker, but the UK productivity levels are well below that of other G7 nations. Jon, tell us about Just Add Tech and why you think you can help us.
Yeah, sure. So from our experience to date, it's clear that businesses are not reaping the benefits of technology. Whilst we've embraced it in many walks of life, how many of us can actually say that our work lives have been enhanced by it remains to be seen. We're in a constantly hyper-connected state. We hardly ever switch off. We seem to be working longer hours and have less downtime, and therefore end up being less productive, which is counterintuitive to the messages that we're told about using software. So what we try and do at Just Add Tech is to help business owners select and implement the right business software so that they can spend more time doing the things that they want to be doing.
So you're taking some of the difficulties out of the equation when we pick up a new piece of software and find that you can't be bothered to read the instruction manual, or there isn't one, that you have to go and look online to find out. Is that right?
Yeah. I think in its simplest term, the great thing about cloud and digital software is how quickly it can be set up and used. The problem is that ultimately the feature sets change frequently. So even when you think you've nailed what you're using,
yes,
the next time you log in, you could find that buttons have moved or things have been changed, and that might not suit how you'd set the system up.
I suppose one of the things one of the terms that people hear quite a lot of when it comes to connecting particularly cloud products is API.
Yeah.
Can you sort of explain to our listeners, perhaps some of them won't understand what the term means, but just explain it in simple terms?
Yeah, sure. So API, as you said, is probably one of the most commonly used terms in digital and particularly cloud software. Its real definition is application programming interface. In simple terms, all that means is allowing applications to communicate with one another. I actually went and found a good business analogy for this to make it as simple as humanly possible, which is taking the basis of a restaurant. So if you take the menu in the restaurant as being the API, when you place your order with the waiter, what you're doing is you're making a call to the API, and then the food that is delivered from the kitchen is the API response. So in real terms, if you think about, you've got a piece of software that's sat with a database with information in it, you are able to ask for some of that information from that database and pull it back into a different system. And also you can, in some instances, put data back into that system as well. So what it enables you to do is, rather than having 5 systems with 5 different databases, that if those 5 systems talk to one another, you can end up with one centralized database. And that's ultimately where you lose the repetition of the data entry and reconciling those 5 systems against each other to make sure that the information in one is the same that's in the others. And that's where the productivity gains and benefits come largely from these APIs that have been developed. They have been there for years, but they're more prominent now with cloud software.
Gosh, that could save quite a lot of time for some companies, couldn't it? You've given us some examples of the sorts of integrated packages that might work well together. And I just wonder what sort of pricing you would need to look at if you wanted to make something integrated like that.
So at its very, very basic level, you could pay nothing. There are a lot of products out there now that will have a free version of the software. One of the things that we've found historically is that if you set up with the aim of trying to minimize the cost to nothing, you can do that. but you end up losing the productivity gains because you might need to use 2 or 3 different bits of software to do the job of one if you just paid £5 per month. So you've got to weigh up how much you're spending versus the gains that you're going to get from doing that. As an example, if you had an e-commerce business and you wanted accounting, an e-commerce platform, maybe an inventory product, a CRM system, a website via WordPress, you could probably set up your whole solution for less than £100 per month. So whereas you may have paid out tens of thousands of pounds historically to get that type of solution set up, you can go and get these products off the shelf, get ones that talk to each other, have them integrated, and pay £100 a month.
Okay, useful. And I think particularly with sort of small businesses worrying about sort of software and particularly the costs of things, being able to spend just a small amount of money like that to get at least the starting point is a sensible place to sort of go. And that sort of leads me on to some of my thoughts around business startups and I suppose the government's latest initiative about making tax digital.
Yeah.
So they're looking to sort of encourage businesses to adopt technology. The cynical souls amongst us may say that that's because they want to know exactly what's going on so they can get our taxes quicker. But if you were advising a business startup these days, what would you, I suppose, recommend as the sort of the set of programs and applications that they should adopt really from day one?
It is a concern that people are worried that HMRC are going to know how much tax and then try and get it from them quicker. Ultimately, using a digital product will enable that information flow. If I end up paying less tax because everybody else is paying their fair share, then I don't have an issue with that. And I also think if you're doing things correctly in the first place, then you also shouldn't have any concerns or any worries. I think what we're talking about here is probably trying to capture those people who are maybe not so keen to pay what is due. So what it will do is force people down this route of having to adopt cloud and digital software. The benefits of that are reduced IT costs, being able to scale your business, having access to the latest technologies, which will hopefully enable you to attract the staff that you need to do it. It enables you to be completely flexible in your workplace. Do you need an office anymore, or can you get your guys to work from home? You're tapping into the enterprise level backup that a lot of these companies use, which is probably better than your dusty server sat in the corner of an office somewhere. And also, if you take into consideration things like the environmental factors, if you don't need an office and work from home, you're not polluting the planet every day by driving cars around needlessly. So there's lots of factors that need to be taken into consideration when you mentioned making tax digital, because it scares a lot of people when you think, this is going to cost the company some money. But there are a lot of upsides to it at the same time. In terms of if you're a startup, ultimately, if you're going to have to do making tax digital because you're going to be VAT registered, you are going to need an accounting product. Some of the accounting products out there now are probably all you're going to need to run business. You take Xero as an example, which is probably one of the UK's market leaders. If you approach it with the basis that if you used Xero, you would be able to issue quotes, send electronic invoices, get paid by credit and debit cards, pay your employees, let them request holidays and record timesheets, connect directly with your bank accounts. You've got a contact section, so you can almost use it as a CRM system. So if you've got quite basic requirements, other than using something like Xero, you probably wouldn't need a massive amount to run your day-to-day affairs for your business. After that, if you were going to keep it, very simple, at the moment, we don't look much beyond Microsoft Office 365. Now, 5 years ago, if someone mentioned Microsoft to me, then I, would have shuddered. Microsoft have really upped their game in terms of what they've done with their cloud-based products. And if you tap into something like Microsoft Office 365, the subscriptions start at £9.40 per month per user. So it's quite a small investment, but included in that, there's now about 18 or 19 different products that live within Office 365, which cover almost everything that you're going to need to do with your business, from auto detect mileage tracking apps. You still get your Outlook, your Word, your Excel. But you've got Microsoft Forms. You've got Teams for instant messaging and collaborative, work amongst your staff members. You've got bookings, so you can put it on your website and people can book time in your calendar if that's how you want to work. You've got access to Planner, which is a really useful task system. You've got Microsoft Power BI, which is great analytics and dashboards software, which again links into products like Xero, so you can start bringing your useful accounting data across into Power BI. Microsoft Flow, invoicing. You can even use Power Apps to build some applications for your business, which again, something that historically may have cost you thousands or tens of thousands of pounds to purchase. You can actually now build your own apps using your data within your business. So between kind of Xero and Microsoft Office 365, for a startup business, you're probably going to have pretty much everything that you're going to need from a day-to-day perspective.
Brilliant. Thanks for your insights, Jon. It would be great if our listeners could make contact with you if needs be. How might they do that?
Yeah, so what would be useful, Laura, is on our website, we've got some great examples of work that we've completed for clients. So you'll be able to get a good idea of the types of things that we potentially help you with, and that's justadtech.co.uk. Or we can go old style, and you can call us on 01202 800 629. Those are the two best ways to get hold of us.
Okay, so thank you very much, Jon, for your time today. We've sort of coming to the end of today's podcast. So that's me, Nigel Davey from SME Needs.
And me, Laura McHarrie at The Hidden Edge. Do make contact with any of us for sound business advice whenever you feel that you need it. Oh, and don't forget to comment on or like, follow and share this podcast.